into the chaos. Cutting Smash characters. Another topic that people have already been talking about a whole bunch, and I'm just kind of joining in, kind of late too, as I always am. I'm joining everything late always. But a lot of people I've seen, when they do this topic, they usually cut the Smash roster in half, and I'm not going to be doing that, and I'm also not going to be talking about Smash characters that I want cut, because that would be a complete different video. This is going to be Smash characters that I believe are actually going to get cut if a new Smash Bros game comes in and they're going to cut characters at all. I don't think they're going to do the everyone is here thing, because they already, did that. That was like it feels like a one-time deal type thing, so I don't think they would try to bring everybody back. Obviously, they still could, but if it's like how the previous Smash games did it, I think they're going to actually start cutting some characters. And again, I don't think cutting half the Smash roster is necessary, because I realistically do not think they would ever cut half the Smash roster. The two games that did cut Smash characters only cut like a handful of characters each time, so I don't think there's any chance of half the roster getting cut. So I'm just going to start talking about which characters I believe are actually going to get cut. Now, I feel like the obvious ones that are going to get cut, like probably regardless of anything else, are the two that were cut in Melee and only came back for like the Everyone's Here thing, and that's Young Link and Pichu. I'm not going to talk about these two for too long. I mean, they've been absent for two Smash games before Smash Ultimate came out, so I think it'd be pretty obvious that they wouldn't be here unless they're doing an Everyone's Here type deal. So if the next Smash game does start cutting characters, I think these are like the first two to go, no questions asked. I would normally say save all Echo Fighters, save all the clone characters, because including them does not require much effort. You can have extra fighters without much development time to them. But I'm going to ignore that for this video, because this isn't about my personal wants and what I would do. It's about what I think Nintendo would do if they were going to cut characters. Speaking of characters that were cut in Melee and that are clone characters, we have Dr. Mario. Now I'm putting this guy separately from Young Link and Pichu, because he actually came back in Smash Wii U. He was cut in Brawl, but he made his return. And with Dr. Mario, I'm going to be talking about another character that was cut and returned, that being Lucas. He was cut from Brawl, but then joined for DLC in Smash Wii U, so he wasn't cut for long, but, he was still cut. These characters have a slightly better chance to stay in the next Smash game than Young Link and Pichu, because they have returned, so it's like Nintendo does want them in the game, kind of. Like they're like kind of iffy about it, seems like, if they want them there or not. You don't lose much from cutting Dr. Mario, so I don't feel like he'd be a priority. And none of his moves really represent anything from the Dr. Mario franchise, so it's not like he's representing his game very well. Not that there's much to represent in the Dr. Mario franchise, but the point of bringing a series into Smash is to represent the game that the character comes from in some way, and Dr. Mario doesn't really do that. I know he's just meant to be Mario because he is Mario, but when it comes to cutting characters, usually the character that doesn't have much variety or much of a thing going for them, I don't think they're gonna stay. And as for Lucas, yeah, he's not that similar to Ness. He's got his own unique moves. The only thing that he really copies is the special moves, or they move similar and they have somewhat similar functions, but overall, I say Lucas isn't really much of a clone to Ness. I think what hurts Lucas is the fact that he's from the Mother series, which is a game series that has not had a new game in a long time, and the fact that the specific game he's from, Mother 3, has not left Japan, or not left it officially anyways. So in my eyes, that just tells me that Nintendo doesn't really care to keep this going. I would say Ness would be cut too if he wasn't from the original 64 roster, and he was about to be cut for Lucas anyways, but they kept Ness for this entire time, so Ness is staying, Lucas is probably gonna go. And again, these characters have been cut before, so that tells me that if Nintendo's cutting again, these are gonna be the first ones that Nintendo have in mind. Speaking of characters that have been cut before, Mewtwo. I think Mewtwo would be a character on the chopping block. but I don't think it's as likely for him as Dr. Mario Lucas. Why? Because Mewtwo kind of had a revitalization with Mega Evolution in recent years in Pokemon, and other media has been like bringing him back more than they have in the past. Not only that, but Mewtwo also is the only legendary Pokemon on the roster right now, so I feel like he has an argument for staying. Now, if he does stay, I think Lucario would be cut instead. Lucario feels like he's a little outdated with all the other Pokemon coming in now. He's still very popular. He has been brought into the spotlight recently with Mega Evolution. Well, I guess relatively recently. Mega Evolution is like 10 years old at this point. But I feel like that puts him on the same boat with Mewtwo. And if Lucario were to get cut, I would think that they would switch his aura mechanic over to Mewtwo in some way. But I do think Mewtwo would still be the more likely to be cut because, Lucario already has the aura mechanic. So if you're going to keep that mechanic in, it's better just keep it on the character that already has it. Now, what's going more in Lucario's favor is the fact that he's the only Gen 4 rep, whereas Mewtwo is a Gen 1 rep, and there's a lot of those already. Like, yeah, Mewtwo is a legendary, but there's already a whole section of item dedicated to legendaries, the Master Ball. So I feel like legendaries do not need to be represented as a character slot. Okay, next character, Roy and Chrom. I'm putting these in like the same category as Mewtwo because I feel like they could both stay in if Ike gets cut instead. Obviously, Roy is another character that's been cut and then brought back into Smash Brothers. And when he came back, he had a little bit of his own identity instead of just being like a straight clone of Moth. He is a little more of an aggressive character who wants to get in close and is a lot stronger, a little faster. But as a trade-off, he lacks range, or at the very least, he does not want to keep people out of range because that's, where his sour spot on his sword is. If you were going to take Ike out instead of Roy, then I would think Roy would have to be a little bit more of a heavier character. But I feel like making him adopt a little more of Ike's playstyle would not be ideal for the players who already play Roy because, they play him because of he's really fast and powerful and lightweight. And like I said with Mewtwo and Lucario, I said Lucario already has the old mechanic. Ike already has that playstyle. You might as well just keep Ike in, especially since Roy is a character that is, again, more associated with, like, Japan, because when Roy's game came out, he was exclusively in Japan only. And not to mention that Roy is an older character, like, way back in the day. Now, I know Smash Brothers likes to bring those kind of characters into Smash, retro characters, but we already have that rep in Moth, who is almost like the icon character of Fire Emblem at this point. So if one of the Fire Emblem characters are going, it's probably going to be Roy, and since Chrom's an Echo Fighter, he's going to have to go with Roy too. Sorry, Chrom. Alright, last character who has been cut before but brought back. We got Wolf here. Wolf has come back into Smash for the Everyone Is Here thing. But without that, I think Wolf might get cut too. Now, the only reason why I don't think he's guaranteed cut is because I could see them replacing him with Falco. I think Falco could get cut instead of Wolf. I don't know how much of a possibility that is, but if they want to do have the villain be in and a slightly more unique character, I think Wolf is more different from Fox than Falco is from Fox. So if they wanted to go that route, I could see them doing it. But at the end of the day, they did cut Wolf. On to Smash 4 characters that I think are going to be cut. Wii Fit Trainer, I call her Sarah. Sarah is definitely going to go. The only reason why I think Sarah is here is because, everyone is here. So Sarah had to stay in. But if it wasn't for that, I guarantee Sarah would have been cut. Wii Fit is a pretty popular Wii game, all things considered, but it's old now. And yeah, we bring old games into Smash Brothers to keep them represented. But I feel like Wii Fit would be better represented just as a stage. You don't really need the character. Like Sarah, she's got a unique, she doesn't have a unique gimmick or anything. She just has unique moves, a unique way of fighting basically, but it doesn't like actually affect how she fights. I mean, well, it kind of does. Like, she just kind of has like realistic fighting, like no extensions on her arms. Like, she doesn't like expand her hand for a hitbox or anything. She just has like normal human movements, and like that's unique and everything. But I don't think it's the best for Smash Brothers. I love Sarah, but realistically, if I'm looking at this from a non-biased standpoint, Sarah does not bring anything to the table. It was just like a fun one-time moveset, just like unexpected to see this character in Smash Brothers, but that, that amazement has left now, so I don't think she should be in. If anything, that new exercise game for the Switch, the Ring Fit Warrior, that character will probably replace Wii Fit Trainer because that character seems to have some actual combat potential. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think Sarah, Wii Fit Trainer, gonna get cut. And the other Smash 4 character I think is gonna be cut is Duck Hunt. The same reason as Wii Fit Trainer, honestly. A one-time fun surprise of, oh snap, you made this character into a fighter. Cool for the, seeing it in the one game, but now it's just kind of, the enjoyment has settled. I think it's time for Duck Hunt to go. I think the Duck Hunt game is better represented as a stage, and if the Duck Hunt trio does get cut, you can probably add more elements of their playstyle into the stage. Maybe just have, like, you can be shot by the NES Zapper off screen or something, or have the NES Zapper come in as a assist trophy, kind of like the Fly Swatter smacks the screen, kind of like that, something. I don't know, but I think the enjoyment, like the surprise of Duck Hunt has faded, so I feel like Duck Hunt would get cut too. Smash 5 characters that I think would get cut for the next game, Isabelle or Villager, if they didn't want to keep updating the Villager model. Not that the model changes too much, but if they didn't want to keep changing it and want to have like a stable face for the Animal Crossing series, maybe keep Isabelle instead of Villager. But I think Isabelle's gonna get cut because Isabelle is just too similar to Villager. And like Wii Fit Trainer, Isabelle doesn't really bring anything. Like, you can have characters that are similar, but they kind of bring their own unique playstyle and everything. But Isabelle doesn't really seem to have anything special going for her. She's literally just Villager, but utilizing the tools that Villager has in slightly different ways, not in any interesting ways. Like, I guess the only thing you could really say is like the Lloyd Rocket, maybe. Like, she sends the Lloyd Rocket upwards and Villager rides on the Lloyd Rocket or whatever. Like, I guess that's something, but everything else is kind of the exact same. She doesn't even have any unique traits that other clone or Echo fighters have compared to their counterparts. Like how Lucina has all the same moves as Moth, but she doesn't have the tipper. So you gotta decide if you want to have that extra reward of keeping your distance, or if you want to be able to do the same damage no matter where you are. Or Dr. Mario even. Dr. Mario is a slower, heavier Mario, but he's generally more powerful than Mario. Isabelle does not have anything like that as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe she's any faster than Villager. I don't believe she's heavier, lighter, slower, anything like that. She's literally just Villager using very few unique items from the Animal Crossing series. It's like new moves, but they don't add anything extra. They just kind of like a different way to say, oh, well, this is how the attack goes. Like, she throws water for her down smash, and that's just, it's different from burying the character, but it's just like another attack. It doesn't have anything special with it. And to top it all off, Isabelle is probably the least fitting to be a Smash Brothers character because she's just too nice and innocent. If I'm not mistaken, canonically, Isabelle wouldn't hurt a fly. She is very, very soft and gentle. Who's that? Hello? Oh, 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 what a nightmare. Oh. Alright, anyways. Third party and DLC characters. One of them that I think is very likely to go is Snake, because if I'm not mistaken, the developers or the company that owns Snake has had a hard time with Nintendo, or Nintendo has had a hard time getting Snake like the rights to use him. So I don't think Nintendo would want to go through that again if they're not doing an Everyone's Heroes thing. And he, again, like a lot of the other characters I said before, he was cut before, so I think, they would be okay with cutting him again. If I'm wrong about Nintendo having a hard time getting the rights to use Snake, I could see him staying, and that goes for any other third-party character who I use this excuse for. I don't know exactly, like I'm not in Nintendo. I just, hear things around the internet. Could be wrong, could be, completely true. I don't know, but that's just what I hear, so I think that's what they would go for. It makes sense to me because Snake has been cut before, so I mean, why else would he be cut if not for that reason? I don't know. Short on this one, like Wii Fit Trainer, Duck Hunt, fun to see a moveset made for this character, but at the end of the day, Piranha Plant is just kind of there. I don't really think anyone would actually be mad if this character was cut, so Nintendo probably wouldn't even try to bring Piranha Plant back. Min Min is another DL character I don't see coming back, even though Piranha Plant and Min Min are from Nintendo, so they could easily put these characters in. I do not think Min Min has enough popularity to stay in the game, or the ARMS series in general, because it didn't spawn any new games, any topics about it as far as I can tell. So unless there is somehow another new ARMS game around the next Smash, when the next Smash game is made, I definitely think Min Min's getting cut. Joker. Maybe Persona could have a place in Smash Brothers, but I believe Joker is only the protagonist of one game, and I don't know if he'll be a protagonist of any future games. I think Persona, if I'm not mistaken, has a rotating cast, kind of like Fire Emblem. So I believe that Joker will not make it back. Honestly, I could be completely wrong about Joker being on the cutting board. I just know that when it comes to series that has rotating casts, like Fire Emblem, for instance, or Earthbound, they usually, as from what I can tell, Nintendo usually has a discussion to try to cut the previous character for the next new character. That's what I'm basing this off of. So yeah. And for these last few, like I said with Snake, it all depends on how difficult it would be to get these characters into the next Smash game. Steve, Sora, and Kazuya. I think Kazuya might be the least likely, since Nintendo worked with Namco, like they worked with Namco to make Smash 4. That's why Pac-Man got in. And Kazuya is a Namco character. So honestly, it depends on if Namco works on the game and if they would even argue for Kazuya to get back in. If Kazuya was a character that they really wanted in Smash, they probably would have put him in from the beginning, or around like an earlier time. Like Kazuya was one of the final DLC characters. So to me, it doesn't seem like they care too much about if Kazuya is getting in or not. Again, I could be completely wrong about that. There could be like other reasons. There might have been another reason I heard of why he didn't get in. I think I heard someone talk about that before, but I can't say for certain. I'd have to look it up again. But I'm just thinking Kazuya wouldn't be like the main choice to stay fighting with the rest of the cast. I actually think Steve would be in high consideration to stay, just because Minecraft is such a big gaming thing. Like one of the biggest gaming series in the world, if not the most. I can't remember if it was like the most popular or not. I don't remember. But yeah, I think Steve could be in consideration, especially if, again, obviously, if it's easy to get access to him if Microsoft, allows Nintendo to use Steve. I think Nintendo and Microsoft have a good connection now. I don't know for certain. Do not quote everything I say because I'm just kind of going off of what I just hear around the internet from here and there. But the only thing I think is going against Steve is the fact that they were considering banning him, so he might be like problematic for the developers of Smash Bros. To get him correct, like to fix him in a way that will make the community happy with his inclusion and to represent his series the way that they want to represent him. They want to keep like this kind of blocking movements, this fast blocking movements, and like obviously they want him to like build, but that's the problem he has, or the problem that the community has with him. And if they find it too problematic to update him into the next Smash game, change his movements and change like the block textures, because they had to go change all the stages to have different block textures for his blocks. So they find that too problematic or like too time consuming, then yeah, I think Steve is gonna cut. And again, also depends on if it's easy to get access to him or not. If they have too much of a struggle talking with his company about using him in Smash Bros, they're probably just gonna like be quick to cut him. And out of all the DLC characters that I think are going to be cut because of having difficulty getting access to them, Sora's probably going to be number one for that, because if I'm not mistaken, both Square Enix and Disney are protectors of their characters. Like, I know Disney is, but I'm not sure Square Enix is too much. I'm having a hard time saying, because Square Enix does have a lot of characters in Smash at this point. A lot of their characters are used in Smash, but at the same time, it is Nintendo, and like Square Enix works with Nintendo all the time. And if I'm not mistaken, that's why Sora was the last DLC characters, or was going to be one of the last DLC characters no matter what, because they had a hard time getting access to him. Could be wrong. Again, I don't know everything for certain. But yeah, if that's the truth, then they have to go through these hoops to get access to Sora again. I don't believe he's gonna be in the next Smash Brothers. I'm not saying he's a bad character or a bad designed character, but compared to some of the other DLC characters that have been in the game, he's kind of lacking in a very creative moveset. Now, I don't think the other Square Enix characters are going to get cut, Cloud, Sephiroth, and Hero, because Cloud was in the game for Smash 4, and then they were able to bring yet another character from his series into Smash Brothers. So I feel like they'd be more willing to allow Cloud and Sephiroth back in. And because Hero has such a unique gimmick in Smash Brothers, like, he's not the most popular character among the Smash community, but I don't believe he's caused as much problem as someone like Steve has. And Square Enix allowed Nintendo to use Hero before Sora. Like, I think they specifically chose to give Nintendo access to Dragon Quest before Kingdom Hearts. I think that was their way of giving like a less grand reward. If I'm not mistaken, I think someone said that, or maybe it was like Speculator or something. Like, they got Hero. It's like, well, you can't have Sora, but we'll at least give you Hero, You can at least have Dragon Quest, but we're not going to let you have this Kingdom Hearts character. So I think that means it would be easier to get Hero, because, it was that, they got Hero first. So for next Smash game, when considering which characters to bring in, it might be easier to get Hero once again, so they'd rather keep him instead of doing all that for Sora. But if these third-party characters are as hard to get as I said, maybe they could still come back in the next Smash game as DLC once again. Maybe it's easier for companies to allow access to their characters if they're getting extra money on top of it. They won't keep them for the base roster, but if you want to pay some extra money, we'll get these characters for you. But anyways, those are the characters I think are going to be cut. As you can see here, this is what the roster would look like if the characters I said are going to get cut are actually going to get cut, Like I said, I'm personally going to miss Wii Fit Trainer Sarah. That is my favorite Smash character to play as, but I like out of all the Smash characters I said are gonna get cut, besides Young Link and Pichu, I think Sarah, unfortunately, is definitely 100% gonna be cut. So sad to say, but that means, you know, I'm not gonna be the most happy with this roster. But what do you think? Do you like this roster? Let me know what you think, and I'll be back with another Smash video very soon. Hopefully, I mean, I procrastinate a lot, so maybe not soon, but hopefully it's gonna be soon.